All right, guys, let's make cookie cutters. How delicious is that? All right, so a couple things with your cookie cutters that you need to be aware of for your design. Number one, you need to have a cookie cutter that's going to cut out a shape for a cookie. That shape could be whatever you want it to be. Obviously, things like circles and squares and things are going to be the most simple to work with. And if that's where you're at, that's where you're at. But then it also needs to leave an impression. So you need to have something within the cookie cutter that is not as tall as the outer part of the cookie cutter, because then it will cut all the way through the cookie. It needs to be shorter with it. So I'll show you what I mean right here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to make a very simple cookie cutter. I'm going to start with just a cylinder, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of eyeball the size here with it. Remember, if you hover over corners and sides, you can see how big things are. So there are size limitations to this on the web page. You need to be sure that you read. So I'm going to copy what I have right here, and I'm going to paste it. So I've got two of them now. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shrink this one down. I'm going to hold shift and then click on a corner, and I'm going to shrink it a couple of millimeters, and it's shrinking in all directions right there. Then I'm actually going to make it taller, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. And then I'm going to make it a hole. So now I basically made a duplicate of what I had, and I just made it a little bit smaller, and then I made it taller so it'll stick out so I can see it right here. So I'm going to use the align tool like I just did to center that with it. And right now, if I group it, it's not going to be what I want, but I'm going to show you what will happen. So if I group it right now, it's going to cut a hole all the way to the bottom. I don't want that. I want there to be something on the bottom of the cookie cutter right here. So I'm going to ungroup it, and I'm just going to raise this up off the work plane just about 3 millimeters or so. Okay, now I'm going to group it again. And so now I have the beginning of this. So if I were to use this right now and press it into cookie dough, it's going to cut out a perfect circle of cookie dough, and it would be delicious and everything like that, but that's not what we want. So what I want you to do is put something in the cookie cutter. And again, it does not have to be round like this. I just did that to show you an example. Any shape that you use that I just showed you, if you shrink it a little bit, make it a hole, and etc., it'll work just fine. The more complicated shape, there might be problems, but we'll work it out. It won't be a problem. So there's a lot of things you can put in here. You can put in some sort of word like your name or a design or something like that. But just keep in mind, if you're going to do, let's just say you're going to do a very simple design here, and I'm just, again, this is over simplifying this, so yours should not be this simple, but I'm just going to go ahead and put this in here. Now here's the thing. Obviously, if I go press this cookie cutter down, it's not going to cut out this cookie shape because this part here is taller. So I need to make sure that this is lower. This has to be lower than the outer edge of the cookie cutter. If it's too tall, the cutter won't cut. If it's too low, then my cookie might be so thick that this impression might not be left. So I would say at least half as high as what your height is here. You should be good, but not the same height. Oh, let me undo that real quick. All right, so that's how you would put in the impression. If you're going to do your name, you have to do two things with your name or any sort of word with it. You have to, so let's say here, I'm just going to say, let's just say B for, I don't know why, because B and E were on the page. So let's say that you're going to use B. If you put this in your cookie cutter, you have to kind of picture this in your mind. If BEE is sitting in here, and I press this in, when the cookie comes out, the word's going to be backwards. Okay, if we look from underneath, it's going to end up looking like that when the cookie comes out. It's going to be backwards. So you have to do two things. You have to spell the word backward. So it'd have to be BEE, but then you also need to flip the letters. So you need to turn them so that they are a mirror image. That's the wrong way. It's this way I want to do it. So you need to turn them so they're a mirror image. And if you do this, now the word will spell correctly, and when it prints out from the cookie, it will spell that correctly like that. So spell it backwards and then mirror the letters. Some letters don't need to be mirrored. The letter A does not need to be mirrored because if you flip it, it still looks just like that. But most of them will need to be. H doesn't need to be. I'm not going to do them all, but you'll figure it out when you put it in there if you're going to spell something with it. Okay? All right, that's it. Go make a cookie cutter. Come on, man. Let's go.